Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier. Now you have worked really hard for 2 years. You've listened to your teacher and you've watched all my videos, bless you. And your revision has gone really well. What can go wrong? Well, nothing should go wrong, but you can still blow it in the exam hall if you don't read the questions carefully. My mantra is, what's the instruction? What's the focus? Is there a key word or phrase? And look out for the word "and", because that means there should be 2 parts to the question, and so there should be 2 parts to your answer. So what I'm going to do in this presentation is using comments from the examiner's reports. These are the reports that are sent to us teachers after the papers have been marked. I'm going to use these to share some past pitfalls with you. Now, there's nothing ever sneaky in your questions. Nobody is setting traps for you. That would be appalling. But it's easy in the heat of the battle, in the heat of the moment, to miss something in a question. Well, don't let that happen to you. You have the time, use it, and read the questions carefully. Give yourself the time to read my slides by hitting the pause button. I'm going to begin with something that was just plain silly. And by the way, all the questions I'm using are from paper 2. The question here was, compare and contrast the causes of 2 20th century civil wars. And here's the examiner's comment. The First and Second World Wars do not constitute valid examples of civil wars, despite what a considerable number of candidates seemed to believe. A considerable number. I would hope very few students would have actually thought that these constituted civil wars, but that they rather didn't read the question properly. And you can feel the examiner's frustration coming out there, though this next comment is hard to understand. Neither is the American Civil War a relevant example. Well, no it isn't, having been fought in the 19th century. Just plain silly, but marks, precious marks, were thrown away. Now, you must follow instructions. You know that. It's a basic requirement. But many students don't. Look at the examiner's comments to these past questions. Fascism's rise to power in Italy and Germany in the interwar years largely resulted from the consequences of the First World War. To what extent do you agree with this verdict? The examiner's comments for this one are really quite worrying. This was a popular question, they wrote, and most answers showed a genuine attempt to analyse the rise of fascism in Italy and Germany in relation to the consequences of the First World War. Few, however, tackled to what extent adequately. Few from a popular question. So a popular question, but few could have got a top grade. And then there's this one. To what extent was the failure to maintain collective security after 1930 the most significant cause of the Second World War? And the examiner's comments tell us probably the most popular question on the paper. The most popular. Weaker answers would have benefited from consideration of other factors, as the command term, what I call the instruction, was to what extent, inviting candidates to look beyond collective security. And other factors should also be used with questions that instruct you to evaluate or assess. In the next two slides, I'll turn to the mark schemes to underline the point that instructions must be followed. Look at the question and look at the mark scheme. And please, please, please note the importance of the word "and". Examine critically two treaties and evaluate their success in resolving armed conflicts which necessitated the treaties. Answers which only deal with one treaty or do not either examine or evaluate success should be marked out of 12 marks, meaning marks would be thrown away if they don't. In what ways did advances in technology affect the nature and outcome of warfare in the first half of the 20th century? If only nature or only outcome is dealt with, mark out of a maximum of 12 marks. So, again, the potential for marks to be thrown away. And to make sure I hammer the point home, here's a couple more. Compare and contrast the factors that helped and hindered attempts at collective security in the 10 years after each World War. If only one World War is considered, mark out of a maximum of 7 marks. Evaluate the contributions to the rise to power of Hitler of each of the following: National Socialist ideology, the use of force, economic crises. If only one of the required areas is addressed, mark out of a maximum of 7 marks. If only 2 of the areas required are addressed, mark out of a maximum of 12 marks. The potential to throw marks away. I hope I got my message across. Do please, please, please follow instructions. Now I'm splitting this presentation into 2 parts, otherwise it'll be too long. But I hope I'm convincing you that you need to read those questions very carefully. Every year, students will blow marks, blow grades, because they fail to do so. It will happen in your year, but not to you. And as always with these skills presentations, I'll remind you that I may have a tutorial slot available if you're interested in that. If that's the case, just get your parents to get in touch with me at historymadeeasier@gmail.com and we'll see if we can sort something out. But for now, let me thank you for listening and wish you the very best of luck with your studies and, if you're approaching them, with your exams. Cheers.